What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Real quick, if you have not already, we do have the competition going on for the new 3DS XL Samus Edition that's actually coming out in a couple weeks, so it'd be pretty cool to get that out to one of you. Just enter in the link below, and there's some cool stuff we're going to talk about today, so let's get started. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is a lawsuit that Nintendo has actually lost. This happened yesterday. A verdict was reached, and you may be thinking right away about, oh, the Game Vice one? No, guys, lawsuits take a long time to deal with. For example, the one we're talking about today, which was iLife versus Nintendo, was filed back in 2013. Yes, it's been 4 years that this lawsuit has been ongoing. They were seeking a lot of money, though, so let's kind of talk about this lawsuit real quick and take a look at what it entails. So what happened here, iLife is a company that develops motion sensing technology, and they use it for a few things. In fact, they've even said themselves it can be used in a ton of applications. Currently, or at least at the time, I don't know if they've developed any other further uses for this technology. Well, they were using it for SIDS with infants, sudden infant death syndrome, which is very scary for a lot of parents, I will say that. So I'm glad that they were developing something like this for that. And of course, it also, according to them, works with elderly patients to track if they have fallen or if they're having issues getting around that way. But according to them, the patent that they filed for this was infringed on by Nintendo with some of the original Wiimotes. In their mind, apparently the first 36 million or so Wiis that were sold had this technology in there that was infringing on their patents for the technology. So iLife filed a patent dispute with Nintendo, essentially suing them for the use of their patent. Nintendo did not believe that they infringed on the right, so they went to court for about 4 years apparently, which I still can't believe, by the way, it takes this long to reach a verdict. Although iLife was seeking a lot of money. They were seeking $144 million. In their mind, they were owed about $4 per Wii unit of the first 36 million sold that used in, again, their patented technology. Nintendo, again, did not believe that they infringed on it, so they went along with it. And yesterday, a verdict was reached by a judge and jury in the state of Texas, saying that there was infringement, and instead of $144 million, which is probably more, that's probably more than they should have been getting anyway, the judge ruled that Nintendo pay $10 million. So much less than what iLife was seeking, and that makes more sense in terms of how much was paid over, but Nintendo apparently is not happy with this. There was a statement that they, and of course iLife, made, usually at the end of these court sessions. A lot of times when you go out and there's a verdict reached, both parties will comment on what the future is, how they feel about the verdict, and, well, one side was happy, and Nintendo was the side that wasn't. They stated, on August 31st, 2017, a jury in Texas found that certain Wii and Wii U video game systems and software bundles infringed a patent belonging to iLife Technologies, Inc., related to detecting if a person has fallen down. The jury awarded iLife $10 million in damages. Nintendo disagrees with the decision, as Nintendo does not infringe iLife's patent, and patent is invalid. Nintendo looks forward to raising those issues with the district court and with the Court of Appeals. iLife followed up that statement saying, today's verdict is the result of our commitment to excellence and an outstanding team effort. So it looks like iLife is happy with the decision, despite not getting the massive amount of money they were asking for. A lot of times, they will ask for a crazy amount. They'll do estimations, and then, of course, they don't get that much. Usually, it's like a halfway point, or in this case, like an 8% point. So it's not like they have to pay out. Nintendo has to pay out a lot of money, but it looks like Nintendo's not happy, and according to them, they may be going and appealing this decision and maybe going higher up to see what they can do. Although they may want to step back and think about how much money they're going to be putting into this overall. I'm sure it won't be $10 million if they pursue it, but they have to realize that they got a pretty good decision here. If they end up, like, if they keep going up with appeals and they keep losing, then who knows what happens with that number. I'm not saying it's going to go up, but I mean, who knows at that point? You know what you have here. It's like a 7 or 8% or something like that. Maybe Nintendo kind of goes back, thinks about it, and they just pay them out. Of course, that does kind of mean that you are admitting that there is some guilt on your end, so Nintendo may not want to do that. I'll be curious what they want to do here, because according to Nintendo, yes, the application has been used in different ways, but iLife did not clearly word or really outline what their use of the application was and what they had patented. And that's why they don't believe they should have to pay any money, because iLife was not very specific about, well, what they were doing with the application of this product and what they had actually patented there. So hard to say. I guess we'll see if Nintendo wants to appeal it or if they just want to pay the money and just kind of move on. It's hard to say, though. What would you do if you're in a Nintendo situation? Would you really just keep going with the lawsuit, depending on the, I mean, it could get more costly as you go forward, so I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think here, though. Next up, let's talk about GameStop and those really awesome, really convenient Super Nintendo Classic bundles that they put out there, even the Switch bundles. I have less of a problem with the Switch bundles because at least it's stuff you're going to be using, whether it's an SD card, a game, or a way to charge your controllers or whatnot, or even a Pro Controller. I have no problem with those ones. The one that a lot of us have problems with the bundles is definitely the Super Nintendo Classic bundles, because it came with just junk, right? And obviously they were doing that because they weren't making enough on the Super Nintendo Classic, which I can tell you, they don't make much of anything, if at all, on the Super Nintendo Classic. So they had to pair it with a bunch of useless stuff that they probably can't sell. But according to them, it's a great idea because, well, it's convenient for us when they make the decision for us. In fact, GameStop's Senior Director of Merchandising went ahead and told Glixel this: "We really try to do a great job of pairing up items with things customers like to buy. In the case of the Switch, we know the customer is going to want a way to charge the Joy-Con controllers, so we often throw in a charging device. We know the Switch has limited memory and customers like to download games, so we'll add a memory stick, and then you need a game itself because what good is a piece of hardware without a game to play with it? We make it more convenient. We put some items in the bundle from ThinkGeek.com, retro items that would appeal to those buyers." Now that last sentence is him talking about the Super Nintendo Classic situation on ThinkGeek, where they were pairing like a ton of junk with the Super Nintendo Classics because they knew it would sell. Obviously, people bought them. It was more looked at as a scummy move because, well, they had this item that was gonna sell, so let's just put a bunch of stuff and make the price like $300 because we can't sell this stuff otherwise. And this was pretty much him doing a PR spin, talking more about the Switch, which again, those bundles at least make sense. That's why he barely commented on the Super Nintendo Classic situation, because they knew what they were doing. They're making decisions for the people. Hey, it's a good thing you have this Mega Man helmet to wear while you're playing the Super Nintendo Classic. Super necessary. It's PR spin, they're doing business, and you know what? They don't mind if they have to be viewed as being scummy for really a month or two, and then people will eventually forget about it at that point, unless they magically find more Super Nintendo Classics, next year like they did with the NES Classics, and they do it all over again. Next up, let's talk about Lawbreakers and the trouble it's facing right now. Now, a lot of people see Lawbreakers, specifically with the marketing and stuff they did, as a PC game, right? And people are buying it and downloading it on Steam, and there is a way to track really concurrent player base on Steam, something that's hard to do on the PS4 because Sony isn't as public about those numbers, but it looks like Lawbreakers is having a major issue with its player population, which has now dipped to 336 concurrent players in a 24-hour period, and that is a problem. Now, that is the peak, so in the last 24 hours, the most people that would be on that you could technically play Lawbreakers with is 336. Now, that is way less than some of the bigger ones. We talked about PlayerUnknown Battleground on Steam that was like in the 800,000s, right? Something insane. Dota 2 is up there as well. So it looks like at this point, Lawbreakers is struggling bad, like really badly. I have a feeling that Lawbreakers will go free to play sooner than we think, and they will have to offer something to the people who, well, bought it. And of course, they would try to make up a lot of that with the one thing that, I don't think Cliffy B wanted to do, but he will be pretty much backed into a corner since they have to pay money out. And that's more than likely either microtransactions or the loot crate features, where obviously microtransactions are tied to that, but in that case, you will essentially be introducing gambling into your game, which has worked. It does work. Overwatch, it works. It does. So, it's something they didn't want to do. It's a shame that games can't stay away from that, but you got people you got to pay back for these games. Money doesn't just materialize in thin air, so they have to do something. I have a feeling that will be the route they go, just from really corporate and financial pressure. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about storage medium, specifically with a micro SD card. It looks like at least the record for amount of storage on an SD card has now been broken, and this is by SanDisk. They are now offering a 400 gigabyte card that you will be able to buy for, well, what is kind of a premium price right now, $250. Now, this isn't new for Western Digital. They, of course, own SanDisk. Well, it's not new for them. They've done this before. 2 years ago, they were the ones who broke the record for, well, the most capacity with 200 gigabytes. And now we're up to 400 gigabytes. And they haven't really disclosed how they are doing this. Like, what is all of a sudden giving that aha moment for how they can just jam more space into these little cards. And in their words, they're really just saying they are leveraging its proprietary memory technology and design and production processes that allow for more bits per die. So they don't tell us much, but we now know that yes, these little cards are going to probably keep growing in size because I mean, at this point, flash memory is the future. I think mechanical hard drives will eventually be phased out sooner than we think, as most of us now probably have solid state drives. At least I have solid state drives in a lot of my computers because, well, I mean, SD cards are great too, but mechanical hard drives are just, they're old. It's hard to say. They're kind of past their prime at this point. We're all looking at flash memory. So yes, $250 is a lot. I will say that, but it's a fast card. It reads and writes at 100 megabytes per second, so it's not slow. And again, you're going to have to pay a lot of money as an early adopter. I do see this dropping in price as we go along, most like how most technology does. So I would say probably by Christmas time, and then maybe early into next year, you start to see it really start to drop in price as more competitors start to show up on the scene with high capacity cards. That's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me think about any of the stuff we talked about today, whether it is the iLife Nintendo lawsuit. Which side were you on? I think a lot of people don't like when really these, I don't want to say patent trolls, but people kind of show up with what appear to be vague terms in their patent, and then they feel like they can just go get money very easily because they weren't looking to stop Nintendo from selling systems. Neither is GameVice. They just want to pay out. I think most of us know this, right? They want to pay out. They think it's easy to get. I mean, that might be the easiest $10 million you end up making ever. I mean, sure, you spend 4 years of your life chasing them, but $10 million payout at the end seems pretty sweet. Even with all your court fees kind of lumped in, you pay all that off, maybe you walk away with $9.5 million. That's pretty good. Also, let me know what you think about Lawbreakers. Have you played it? And is it kind of a shame to see it? Well, I mean, it's dying. There's really not a lot to it anymore, and eventually it probably will become a ghost town of an online experience, which means that the game, since it relies on online gameplay, would pretty much be useless and not worth buying. That's it for now, guys. I'll see you Monday.